Welcome to our episode of Biblical Archaeology from the Ground Down. Sponsored by Bible Interact and hosted by Dr. George Sparks. Now let's explore the field of archaeology in today's episode.
Well, welcome to our show, everybody. This is Biblical Archaeology from the Ground Down, sponsored by Bible Interact. There's been some excavations going on in Israel, or we thought that you would like to know. Myself, I'm more of a museum person, but Dr. Graves has 30 years of experience in the field. So he's going to tell us what are the more recent discovery going on in Jerusalem. And he's going to share this information with us today. Now, it's interesting because as an archaeologist, he's also going to share with us what some of this terminology actually means. So today, Dr. Graves is with us to share the discovery and this information. So stick around, because at the very end, he's also going to share us something also very new with the discovery and the excavation that's going on at the Pool of Siloam. So we're going to have a good time today. Dr. Graves, thank you for being on the program.
Oh, good to be with you, George, as always. And we're going to see some new stuff. In fact, some of it's so new, I was ready to go with the podcast yesterday, had everything all ready, and then the Israeli Antiquities Authority sent a Facebook post out that they discovered something else. So we need to talk about that today as well. So things are happening over there all the time, and it's hard to keep up sometimes with it all. So we're here to keep you informed and to keep you up to date. We're going to share a little bit more about the Pool of Siloam and what that all means. So I'm going to try and give you a little bit of an overview, and then some of the important discoveries, and then the most recent discovery as of last week, really. So we'll get started. I'll start my PowerPoint up here, and I got a few slides to show. And
while you're doing that, just to let the listening audience know that when the subject comes up, we do have actual pottery here that we're going to share with you. I have not seen his PowerPoint yet, so I don't know exactly what he has to share.
So we dealt with the Pool of Siloam some time ago, and I gave you some of the initial material. So it's going to be a little bit repetitive, but I'm going to skip through that pretty quick to get to the newest discoveries. Because as I said, things are changing there on the site because it's an active archaeological dig all the time. Here's a map that was generated in 1865. And as you'll notice, they've got up here in the top, Pool of Siloam up here. And if you go down south a little bit, there's another area right here, and they call it the Old Pool. So for a long time, in the 1800s, there was a recognition that there are two pools very close together. This one here is kind of long and rectangular. This one's more like capital letter D. They knew there were two pools in this vicinity. This map here is from the 1936 survey, and it shows the two pools as well. I've labeled everything for what we're going to be talking about today to give everybody a sense of the geography and the whereabouts. So up in the top right-hand corner here, you have the Temple Mount, where I've cut it off just to make it big enough to see. Right here is Robinson's Arch. We've talked about that before. And this olive-colored path that goes down here to the Pool of Siloam is the Pilgrim's Path, or the water channel that carried the wastewater from the 1st century down to the Pool of Siloam. And that's being restored now, and you can walk this path back up. Now, both of these are underground presently because all the occupation in the Jerusalem area they keep building on top of each other. So this is filled in so that both of them now are underground, but they're restoring all of this. It's one of the largest excavations in Israel, most costly they've ever done. And then the other item I wanted to point out to you is the Hezekiah's tunnel here. This is the dark green, windy path that goes through here. This was actually chiseled out of the rock and brought the fresh spring water from the Gihon Spring down to the Pool of Siloam, to the two pools that are existing down here. Now, this top one was for a long time considered the Byzantine pool, the Pool of Siloam. So before, what date would it be? Probably before the year 2000. I forget the exact date. They considered this to be the Pool of Siloam. And then they were doing some work here right along this area right here, putting in some modern water stuff they were doing in the city of Jerusalem. And they discovered this 1st century AD pool, Birket el-Hamra. And this larger pool area photograph when I was there. The entrance to the tunnel is right here. This is to the underground Pilgrim's Path and water channel. You can enter right through there. And I actually entered in. You can see part of it just started. They just had discovered it that year. But then there's also two other channels right here on the side that bring the Hezekiah's water out. And I'll show some more photos of that. So it's confusing sometimes when you go and you Google Pool of Siloam, you're going to get photos that are going to look like this. A long, narrow, it's a Byzantine pool. It was a Byzantine church was built here commemorating the Pool of Siloam, supposedly at Birket, Silwan. That's the upper pool right here. And then there's the lower one right here. And I've seen some Facebook posts where people will post pictures of the Pool of Siloam, and they mix these two pictures together, assuming that they're all one. People that don't know what they're talking about, never visited the sites. And so they go to the internet, and the old pictures, this is the Pool of Siloam, and the new photographs, this is the Pool of Siloam. But they're actually two separate pools. So that's what I wanted to point out. Also, there's two separate water channels. Fresh water, Hezekiah's tunnel, chiseled out of rock. And there's the wastewater channel that runs down this side, Tyropian Valley side, that was created in the Hasmonian period. Originally, the water just ran down the valley to the Pool of Siloam. So that's the geography lesson. Here's a little close-up of it, just to give everybody an idea of how the water kind of flows. This is the old Byzantine pool again. This is an old photograph from the 1907, and I colorized both of these. And there's the Birket el-Hamra pool in 1907 as well, taken from an article in the Biblical World, Jerusalem in Bible Times. So that's what it looked like before all of the houses were built all around them, and gives everybody a clearer idea. Here's my drawing of the cutaway of Hezekiah's tunnel for anyone that's kind of interested in seeing how this was all done. It's quite intricate, how the water flowed. Basically, it was built by Hezekiah to bring the fresh water from the spring, the Gihon spring, which was outside the city wall at the time, to bring it inside the city wall so they would have water inside, and so the water would be protected. And here's the route of Hezekiah's tunnel, a cutaway of the underground, what it looked like. And then the Siloam inscription, we know it's Hezekiah's tunnel because the Siloam inscription was found right here. This is the Pool of Siloam today we're going to talk about. So just a few meters inside the wall was where they discovered the Siloam inscription that talked about them starting from opposite ends of the tunnel. They started digging this side and they started digging this side, and they met in the middle. I think there's a country song on that, isn't there? Meeting in the middle. So that's what they did. And that commemorates it. So that became quite important. Here I am without my beard. I walk through the Hezekiah's tunnel. Notice the walls here are all chiseled, and it's found in 2 Kings 20:30. As for the other events of Hezekiah's reign, all of his achievements, and how he made the pool and the tunnel by which he brought water into the city. So it mentions both the pool and the tunnel. So he knew both of those existed back in the time of Hezekiah's reign. This is what it says on the Siloam inscription, quote, how they did it, how they yelled at each other. And there's another photograph of the Hezekiah's tunnel. You can see it all chiseled away there on the sides of the channel. And this is the Byzantine pool. So until 2004, most scholars accepted it's the small, narrow pool as the Pool of Siloam, as I mentioned. And they associated this one with the miracle of Jesus, and that's why they built a Byzantine church there to commemorate it. And you can still visit it today, built on the location by Empress Aelia Eudocia in 440 AD. And it's also depicted on the famous Madaba map up on Madaba in Jordan in 575 AD, so shortly after it's built. And so there's a mosque over top of it now, located here. Bear Hat says back in 1994, there is no available proof that the Second Temple period Siloam pool was situated at the present-day site, and it is more plausible that the pool was situated at a location of the nearby Birket el-Hamra, the Red Pool, where there is now a flourishing vegetable garden. Actually, it's part of the Greek Orthodox Church. So he's talking about two different pools, and he's saying the one that was the Byzantine pool is really, it's more plausible that it's the bigger one down below. So back in 1994, before they even discovered the steps for the Pool of Siloam, the first century one that we consider to be the Pool of Siloam today, there was still an understanding that there were two different pools. Here's the Madaba map. This is the part of it that depicts Jerusalem and all the different features. They're all labeled here. The one in red is the Siloam Church here in the corner. And here's another photograph of the old Byzantine pool. But this is the new one that they discovered. This is in 1907. And this is what it looked like back then. And you couldn't see the steps or anything. So it had a wall around it that was evident in 1907. And here's the steps they uncovered in 2004. It's courtesy of Todd Boland's photograph of it, but I was there that year and took a photo of it myself as well. The sewage line was being worked on and they found it, and then the IAA came in and started investigating it, and the remains of the steps leading down to the pool, and they did a lot of work there, excavating, leading from the pool to the street level, and then it led up to the temple. So you could walk up those steps in that, and that would be the road that led up to the Temple Mount. And they have declared that this is the Pool of Siloam that was mentioned in John, the one that was used in John, based on the coins and the pottery embedded in the mortar. The structure was securely dated to the 1st century and the first Jewish revolt against Rome in 66 to 70 AD. And it became inactive after the destruction of Jerusalem. Now its function has been debated, and at that time, it's been questioned as to whether it was a Jewish ritual pool called a mikvot or mikvah, or was it a swimming pool? And some have said one, some have said another. But what's not debated is that it was a pool that was used in Jesus' day. So that is not in dispute. We know it existed, but what was it used for and how was it used was debated. Now stay tuned, because at the end of the podcast, I'm going to break the newest discovery that's going to give us a bit of a clue on that. And I think it's kind of exciting and quite impressive. So like every excavation, we have the theory of the day, but as each passing day of excavation goes by, we unearth more and more evidence, and sometimes we answer the questions that we're inquiring about, confirming the topographical accuracy of John's gospel, and it connects to Hezekiah's tunnel to provide water to Jerusalem. Here's Lane Rittmeyer's drawing of it based on the archaeological evidence, so to see what it looks like there. But what do you notice right here? What do you notice right across here? Look at that V.
Are you asking me a question?
Yeah.
Or for the listening audience? Okay.
Well, for the listening
like,
audience and yourself.
Looks like it's forming a dam,
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Pond.
Yeah, it does. It looks like it's forming a dam. Lane Rittmeyer is such a great archaeological architect that even before the discovery, he's able to draw, going to show us what's happening here. And I just noticed that just this minute. I didn't notice that before, how accurate that was. That is a dam. And sure enough, that's probably what we're going to find. The discoveries, the Golden Bell, we talked about podcast that's up on YouTube now, if you want to learn more. Golden Bell. And the first Jewish from year 3, I think years 1, 2, and 3, I discovered in the Pilgrim's Path. Here's a blow up of Lane's drawing. Here's the Pilgrim's Path leading down beside the Siloam that stepped up to the Temple Mount, and then it comes down here and turns and goes through the gate of the city wall. And here is the model side of I think today it's outside of the Israel Museum, but it used to be outside of the Jerusalem Hotel. I think they might have moved it or something, but anyway, I'm not sure. People can confirm that in the comments. But you can see the temple here. You can see the Pool of Siloam here in the blue down below. And the street would have wound all the way up through here. This is the Tyropian Valley, and up to Robinson's Arch that's right here. And the Gihon Spring is outside the wall here. So they need to bring the water from the outside all through this channel so that it led out into the Pool of Siloam to have fresh water inside the city wall. Here's an artist's reconstruction. This is a large painting that is on location now at the Pool of Siloam that they discovered, giving an idea of what it looked like with the sheep and people carrying water. And here's an artist's rendition of it and a video that the IAA just put out yesterday. I'll put a link in the description below that you can have a look. It's all, I think, only 3 minutes about the new discoveries. And this is how they envisioned it. 800 BC is when they carbon dated it and was able to discover it. So the animals coming down and people coming down to fill their jars full of water from the Gihon Spring. Here's another painting of it, because John 9 tells us about a man who was blind from birth, and Jesus heals him here at the Pool of Siloam. He tells him, go to the Pool of Siloam and get into it, and you'll be healed of your blindness. And sure enough, that's what happened. Here it is, filled with a little bit of rainwater. Even in the modern times, it was containing water. And for some, the miracle at the Pool of Siloam was merely a parable based on a play on words, because the word Siloam means sent. And so they think Jesus was sent as the light of the world to give sight to the blind. And so they just use this as a metaphor. It wasn't literally, there wasn't any real Pool of Siloam, and Jesus didn't really do a miracle, and so on and so forth. Well, the discovery of the pool here, there is no doubt that the symbolism which is present in the text is based on history and John's eyewitness account of the site in Jerusalem. It can't prove that the miracle happened, but it does prove that there was a pool, Siloam, that existed in Jerusalem. John was an eyewitness of. Here's a little more modern picture of it. They put a little shade over the top as they started to do some excavating. And here's another photograph from 2023, a couple of years ago, when they started to do the excavations here. They went to court, and the court sided with the Antiquities Authority that the Greek Orthodox Church had to give them permission to tear down their fruit trees that were growing right here in the garden of the Greek Orthodox Church, and had to give them permission to tear that all down and to discover what was underneath the garden. So that's what they did. They got the court order, and the courts agreed with, sided with Israel's. They had to take it all down. So this is what it looked like 2023 from Seth Adcott, some of his photos that he posted when he was visiting. So it became quite an extensive excavation. Here's an aerial view of it looking down. The earlier stairs were right up here along the southern side or bottom side of my screen. So they didn't know what they had. They were trying to see what was actually there. So they began to take all the dirt out. Here we have a square they opened up. So they're starting to put squares in. We usually don't use big equipment to do excavations, but here we have some more of it. They put some fences around for protect people from falling and so on. And this is one of their little huts down here. They were using this for processing the finds. And then just this week, they posted this video on the Siloam Pool excavations in the city of David. And you'll see they've removed all of the dirt. They've gone down below. And these are the walls that were in that photograph from 1907. And here's where the outlet of the two channels from the Hezekiah's tunnel came out. This is the area over here where they're excavating. There's the steps along here that they found earlier. And this is Dr. Santon. He's the director of the excavations here at the Pool of Siloam. So here it is, 11 meters high, and they did carbon dating on it. Dates back to 2,800 years ago, which is pretty incredible. So the dam was designed to collect water from the Gihon Spring, as well as floodwaters flowing down the main valley of the ancient Jerusalem, the historical Tyropoeon Valley, to the Kidron Stream, providing a dual solution for water shortages and flash flooding. So the water would be collected here, and they could use it for all purposes in Jerusalem during the time of Hezekiah. But we also have a later channel that was built down the Tyropoeon Valley that was also discovered. And on top of it, you had a Roman road that led all the way up to the temple from the Pool of Siloam. So this was built in the Hasmonian period, not the Hezekiah period, but the same purpose. It would bring the water, the rainwater, and other water down from the Temple Mount area. And these are some of the discoveries we want to talk about today. So there's the street as it would go up, and this is a painting of it, what it looked like coming from Robinson's Arch all the way down to the Pool of Siloam. And what Blaine Ridmeyer drew is sort of a dam here that would lead out into the Kidron Valley. And that would be the gate here on the side. There's another simpler drawing of it. The city of David, of course, is right here. This is the gated city of David, and this road ran down beside it, the Tyropoeon Valley, the Herodian Road, town of Herod. This is a detailed drawing of the area that I have done. This map is in my books. It'll be in my study Bible that I've just developed, the Web Study Bible Archaeological Edition. You'll see the two pools down here in the bottom, Pool of Siloam. So there's the Pool of Siloam there, everything labeled. Here's a visual reconstruction of what it would have looked like, the street leading up. Now, this is going to be open to the public, so the public will be able to walk this. The only thing is that the modern buildings and streets are all covering it. So you're going to be walking underground in a tunnel on the Roman road. And this is Robinson's Arch, where it leads to. And there's another picture of it from a different angle. And this is what the street looks like underground. So it's the most costly and extensive excavation they've ever done. Here's another one that they've exposed the street. So it goes up, slight steps going up, slight incline. But they put these iron structures up over your head in order to be able to build underneath of the modern houses that exist today. And this section was opened in July of 2019. And there's the step street as it goes up again. And then you've got some areas here that have plexiglass where you can look through the step down into the water channel underneath the steps, because the water channel flowed underground. It was originally about 25 feet wide. They could only go so far here. And it went 600 meters up to the Temple Mount, about 1 kilometer in its entire length. So quite substantial. It'll be quite a climb for people, but one that would be amazing. So here's how it all would look like. The water channel underneath the steps. A piece of it was chiseled away here or broken away. Whether that was broken by the Roman armies looking for people hiding in the tunnel during the destruction of Jerusalem or not, we don't know. But we did find some artifacts inside the channel, the water channel. So it tells us people were in there. And then the road was above it, as this watercolor shows. And we showed the bell last week. Perhaps the high priest was walking on the road and the bell fell off the bottom of his garment and fell into the water channel below, or it was discovered. There's the little bell. So he's actually underground in the water channel underneath of the street, the pilgrim's path. Now, what do you notice, George? What do you notice about the walls of this channel compared to Hezekiah's tunnel?
Well, they have stonework and it's not chiseled.
There you go. Exactly. So that's how you can tell the two different water channels. This one was made and was built, and we have the chiseled stone blocks that were used to build it, whereas Hezekiah's tunnel was chiseled out of solid rock. So there's the drainage channel or water channel again. It leads up. We know that because of the chiseled stone on the side. The blocks were used during the Hasmonian period. Here's another photograph of it. This is another drawing that I thought kind of interesting, because there we have the Robinson's Arch, but then he shows how everything's sort of constructed here by Warren's shaft and the sewer and how it's designed. And it was actually changed. So Charles Warren's section here of it, his drawing of it. So here's Hezekiah's tunnel. You see how it's nice and smooth and chiseled. And then the drainage channel, we have all this cut stone, cut blocks that it was created by. So that's how you tell the difference between Hezekiah's and the drainage channel. And here's where it exits, right underneath of Robinson's Arch in the archaeological park. These are stones that fell off of the temple area during the destruction of Jerusalem in 70 AD. And there is where it comes up, pops up through the road. So you can go down to the water channel underneath. And there's Robinson's Arch. So this arch would have come up over top. I think I got a photo of it. This is the northern exit, number 1, right under Robinson's Arch. There's actually another exit, exit number 2, in the Giviet parking lot excavation underneath of that green tarp. So there's actually 2 different exits. And there's Robinson's Arch. This is how another just development of the Temple Mount. And this shows the redirection. The Hasmonean period, they had the drainage coming right along here through that dotted line. And then they extended the Temple Mount. That's the Hasmonean Temple Mount area. They extended it, made it larger, and guess what? It cut over top of and blocked off the drainage channel. So they had to reroute it, and sure enough, that's what we have in the construction work underneath. I thought that was kind of interesting, that they had to do a workaround. There's the step street again, and this is the drainage channel underneath below. So this is above, this is below. You'll notice all the bags are all numbered. The buckets are all numbered, so they know what area everything comes from. So you do archaeology. Here are some of the discoveries in the channel. These cooking pots, beautiful cooking pots, an oil lamp. Now, George, I think you have a few there, do you, of some pots and pottery?
Go ahead and finish. Let me grab a few more pieces, and then go ahead and with your presentation. This is just absolutely wonderful. I feel like I've been to Israel.
Yeah, okay, great.
Okay, so
Okay, well,
go ahead, go ahead.
you
I'll
go
go
get a few
grab some.
pots, and then I'll continue on with some of the other discoveries. So here are some of the pottery. This is the Roman jug, the Hellenistic oil lamp down below. Now, that's kind of interesting because these were also used in the Iron Age period, but they brought them back because they didn't want to use, like the Quakers, they wanted to use the old stuff. And then you have some of the spindle whorl. I think George has got a spindle whorl there. And then there's some cooking pots and the oil lamps, early Roman, and the Roman jug. These were all found in the water channel. And the Herodian style oil lamp, I think George is going to show us one of those. Another thing they found in here was a Becca weight. This is a weight that we use. They would put it on a scale, and it was equal to exactly a half a shekel, which was the temple tax. So half a shekel was the tax for each individual for the temple tax. So now what's interesting is they didn't have half shekels in the early period, in the first temple period. The first temple period, they didn't have a temple tax coin that equaled a half a shekel. They only had a whole shekel. It was a Tyrian shekel, and it was used because it was made out of the purest silver. So if it was a husband and wife, 2 half shekels made a whole shekel, and you could give your Tyrian shekel as your temple tax. But this little Becca weight that has writing on it was what they would use to determine if it was legitimate or not, because people tried to fool the tax collectors. And so here is the Becca weight. Exodus 38 says a Becca a head. In other words, a Becca, that's how much? That's a half a shekel by the shekel of the sanctuary for everyone who was listed in the records for 20 years old and upwards, for over 600,000 men. We also know this from Josephus. So a half a shekel it weighed anywhere from 5.7 to 6 grams. That was the temple tax. So a full shekel would weigh about 11.3 grams. So this little weight found in the tunnel in Jerusalem near the Temple Mount was how they were able to determine whether you brought the right tax. I thought that was pretty credible. And you can see the writing on it there. And this is the Tyrian shekel above. Here's the Tyrian half shekel below. It's sometimes called the crucifixion shekel because it was minted in the year that Jesus was crucified. So it's called the crucifixion shekel. And it would have a picture of Malkat, actually one of the gods, and an eagle. And of course, the Jews weren't allowed to put those kind of images on their coins. That was a no-no. So up until 66 AD, this is what they were using. And here it is right here. And so they found a Tyrian shekel there as well. This photograph of the underground tunnel was taken by Farrell Jenkins, a friend of mine, in 2010, showing the path. This is all full of sludge and stuff. And then they took that all out. They were able to find these artifacts. Now, what's really interesting is they found some of these as well. So after 66 AD and during the Jewish revolt, the Jews started minting their own coins, and they didn't put the picture of the Tyrian gods Malkat on there, nor the eagle. They put their own images and their own writing on it, Holy Jerusalem, and this is the second shekel. So only for 5 years, 4 years and a half, did they actually mint these coins, and then they put the year they were minted on there. Shekel Israel year 2. This is Shekel Israel year 3. These go up in value because there was fewer and fewer of them made. And if you ever have one of these, they're worth a lot of money. This is the stone tablet top that was found as well. I thought this was pretty cool. This was used by the Jerusalem central market manager. The market was called the shuk, and the individual who was there seated with the agronomist, from the Greek word agronomos. In other words, it comes from the word agora, meaning the marketplace, and nomos, meaning law. So he was the one that issued the law of the market, the market manager. And you would put your liquids in here. This is the liquid measuring table. This is a stone tablet top. Here's another picture up on the side. And what you would do, there's a little hole in the bottom of it. You'd plug it, and then you could unplug it once you filled it up with the proper measurement, liquid measurement of wine or oil or whatever your liquid was going to be as an offering that you would make at the temple. This is how they would measure it out. And then also the gold bell. I'm going to go back. I think this is kind of interesting as well, because remember, Jesus goes into the temple. He turns over the table of the money changers. Well, here's a stone tabletop. Did this get broken by Jesus? just speculation. I'm just putting it out there. I'm not saying it is or it's not, but this gives us a little bit of an idea of what the Gospels are talking about when Jesus overturned the tables. We're not talking about a card table. We're talking about a solid stone carved out table like this, which I thought was quite illustrative. There's from our podcast where George is holding up the reproduction of a gold bell that he has. It's actually a bronze bell. The gold one there that they discovered is on the left-hand side. Probably or could have fallen off the garment of the high priest. Exodus tells us that they made bells of pure gold and put the bells between the pomegranates around the skirt of the robe, between the pomegranates, a bell and a pomegranate around the skirt of the robe to minister in as the Lord commanded Moses. And it's also found recorded in Sirach 45:9. And so there was about 72 bells that was around the robe of the high priest. And the high priest goes home one day and his wife says, "Honey, you're missing one of your bells." And it got caught in the drain and was discovered in 2003 by archaeologists. And that's the little bell that he was missing. If you want to pick it up for jewelry, they're $1,000 at the gift shop, reproduction of one, but you can get a gold-plated one for just $159. So never fear, you can always pick up a souvenir. They also found a Roman gladius sword. Now it was in pretty rough shape. This one's a reproduction that shows you what they looked like and how they were carried, and with a leather sheath they had. Here's what it looked like in the tunnel: a Roman legionnaire's sword and leather sheaths. We know the Romans were there. We know they were in the tunnels because we got one of their swords. We also know the Jews were there because we got their pottery and some of their belongings. And then they also found this, which I thought was pretty cool. This was a voucher or a token, and they're holding it. It verifies ritual purity that was linked to temple activity. In other words, you had to be ritually pure, and you had to be verified as pure and certified as pure in order to go to up to the Temple Mount and make your offering. And the Mishnah says whoever requires libations, that's what they would have in that stone libation measuring thing, would go to Yoham, who was in charge of the stamps, give to him the appropriate amount of money, and will receive a stamp from him in return. And that's the stamp he would get. He would then go to Abijah, who was in charge over the libations, give him the stamp, and receive the libations from him, the libations that were all measured out according to that stone measurement. And in Aramaic, the kokan says pure for God. You've been purified for God. So it's like indulgences in the Catholic Church back in the Reformation. You know, you paid your money and you got certified that you were pure for God and that your sins were forgiven. You would get absolution. The material is found in my book on the archaeology of the New Testament, some of it on the Siloam Pool. And then this is my new New Testament study Bible archaeological edition that's going to be coming out in a little while. And I've got some material in it. That's what the pages are looking like. I have an outline for every book, and then the date, author, purpose for each book, and then the full text of the World English Bible on it, and then archaeological notes throughout. There's a mikvot, some stuff from Qumran. Every page has got material and a commentary on the text that all points to archaeology. So it'll be a good addition to your library. Okay, George, you got a few artifacts there for us, do you?
Yeah, sure. And hopefully I won't draw this out. Hey, David, that was more than what I thought expected. I really appreciate it. I feel like I've been to Israel. Matter of fact, when I go, I'm gonna play this podcast over again, so it reminds me of everything that's in that vicinity, so I can enjoy it. You know, that was really good. So like I said, starting off, I didn't see your podcast. I didn't see your power, so I didn't know which artifacts to bring out. So I left for a little while so I could collect artifacts. You mentioned the location of ritual purity where they would receive their little token stamp and also a libation. So here's a limestone vessel, which would be ritually pure. Who knows, when they gave a libation, did they have to carry it in something ritually pure as well? Possibly. So there we have it. Actually, these artifacts are authentic, thanks to the Museum of Archaeology and Biblical History in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Also a Herodian lamp. So
Like
these
the
are
head
from the
man.
time of Herod. the time of Jesus. Our presentation of the little golden bell, this is bronze. So anyway, it's the same size. Yeah, so it gives a good example of what it looks like in comparison to everything else on the table here. Also, I think, David, wasn't there like 72 gold bells on the hem of the... So,
70,
yeah, I wonder if every time he took off the garment, he had to count them like 1, 2. Whoops, I'm
probably.
missing one. You're missing one.
And it also was
You
a bell because it had a clapper inside. So it actually,
I don't know if they can, not much.
they can't hear it, but to trust
Okay.
us, there is a clapper in there and they are actual bell. So good.
But I can imagine, like I'm missing a bell. Okay, then a cooking pot. This is a Herodian cooking pot. We know by the design of the pottery what period it is from. All right.
Yeah.
Now
It's
let's
got
look
those
at some
little,
other artifacts.
we
Like I
found a
said,
lot
all
of we found a lot of examples of that at Tel el-Hamra when I was digging the Roman bath complex. So
coins from that period. Now these are not the Jewish revolt coins, so they'd be prior to 66 CE of the Common
well,
Era.
George,
Yes, sir.
that top one looks like it's the Tyrian shekel.
It sure is. You're right.
The one on the top, it's got the eagle and Melcat. Yep, that's the shekel from the temple tax shekel, the full shekel. You present one of those as temple tax. Yeah, they wanted the one made in Tyre, the Tyrian one, because it was the one that had the highest purity of silver in it, highest grade, 97% silver. So the Jewish people wanted their taxes paid in the highest silver possible.
You're right. Mm-hmm. So people would ask, like they used this coin at the temple, but yet it has a graven image. And that is a good question. But that's because of the content of silver. This is the coin that was preferred. Now, if that's the case, according to the biblical narrative, if Judas received 30 pieces of silver, then maybe this is the type of coin he was given, except 30 of them. Down below is a Roman denarius. We read about that in the scripture where it says, show me a coin, and whose image is on it? And it's Tiberius. Well, render unto Caesar what is Caesar, and to God what is God. This is the type of coin that was referred to in that scripture. Now, once again, that's Tiberius, and the coin is the denarius. So 10 times Tiberius denarius, Tiberius denarius. You got it right. Underneath that is a pruta or a lipta. This is the smallest denomination of a coin. It is represented in the biblical narrative as the widow's mite. She gave all that she had. So coins representing the biblical narrative from the Roman period. Hope everybody enjoyed that. Now, you also mentioned some pottery from the Hellenistic period, or you said the Hasmonian, all right? So we are before the time period of Jesus, because remember, David talked about 2 tunnels, one that was earlier under the, or close to the old Temple Mount location, but when Herod extended the Temple Mount, it covered up the Herodian tunnel, so they had to build a new one. So there's pottery, I believe, that came from the older tunnel, and this would be the Hellenistic pottery. You mentioned, does George have a spindle wool? And here we have one right here. It's a very nice one too.
Yeah, really nice. Yeah, very nice.
And then this is prior the Herodian period. So this is Hellenistic, Greek period pottery. Okay. Representing types of pottery that would be found in the older tunnel system. All right. I'll put that here. This one's pretty cool. Typical. This is very common of the Hellenistic period. The saucer, look, a place to lay the vessel on top so it doesn't escape you. And so very nice examples of the Hellenistic, Hasmonian, if you will, period that you're talking about.
Perfect for olive oil.
Oh, and you did mention a Roman sword, which a Roman sword would be made out of iron, not bronze. So I don't have a sword, but I do have an iron weapon.
Okay, spearhead. Good.
So here we did the best we could, David. We representing pottery from the excavation. Once again, your presentation was absolutely incredible. You described the terrain features, the locations, the excavation, and then followed it up with the more recent discoveries. Also, the token I found was incredible. They found a token. So you'd go to a location, you'd pay to have somebody pronounce you pure, qualified to present yourself to the temple. You get a token, right? And then the token you would give to another individual as you would proceed up to the Temple Mount, I guess. So two locations before. All this is new to me.
Yeah,
I thought
yeah.
people just like, oh, I'm going to the temple, like la la la, have a good
There
day.
there was a
Don't forget,
process,
don't forget your lamps and your bell.
and there was a sacrifice, and there was also a monetary sacrifice. It cost you to go. You had to
Yes.
pay. Then you had your temple tax once a year you had to pay. So money, money, money.
And that's
Location,
that's
location,
a good point.
location.
And in the biblical narrative, Jesus had something to say about that as well, where he turns over the table of the money changers. In your case, the broken table.
Well, that comes to mind. That's the kind of table we're talking about. And did that get broken when Jesus turned it over and they discarded it? I don't know, but it certainly helps to visualize in your mind what we're not talking about some little card table or that little table you got in front of you there, George, all covered with these beautiful artifacts and some good stuff. And then, of course, you've got the limestone cup there that they would probably bring their libation. A libation is a liquid, so they would bring, wine or olive oil, something along those lines, sometimes honey, and they would bring their libations to the Temple Mount, and then they would have to be measured, but they would bring it probably in a ritually pure vessel like that. Yeah, I think it's pretty cool, all that discovery. And the fact they found the dam that could hold so much water from the earlier Hasmonian, or from the earlier period of Hezekiah, and then still being used even unto Jesus' day, because they found the coins there in the grout and the mortar of the steps, and how it's connected to Hezekiah's tunnel, and how it's connected to the pilgrim's path and to the water channel, and how all the pottery and everything comes together. This is pretty amazing excavation. And the fact that Lane Rittmeyer was able to determine that there was a dam there and know that because of his because he knows the area and the archaeology so well from all these years of working there, that he was able to draw that in so accurately. And now they've uncovered it, and now they found it, and how those two pools are related and connected is still being uncovered. But you'll soon be able to walk all the way from the Pool of Siloam all the way up to the Temple Mount, and then come out right under Robinson's Arch. Will be a pretty cool trek. And that's how you would bring you'd go down and get ritually pure down to the mikvot and down in the pool, and then you'd walk up the path to the Temple Mount, have your dealings with your voucher, get your voucher, do your measuring, and then you would enter into the Temple Mount and present your offerings. Pretty cool. Before the high priest who lost his bell.
Yeah. So just to picture that we are in some cases, like you gave us meters, but some cases we're thinking about maybe 30 feet or maybe more than that. They're actually digging down to the road, and then the actual drainage tunnel is underneath the road.
Yeah.
So you got
Yeah, well, they're not actually digging down now. They're entering in the Pool of Siloam underground, into the drainage tunnel and into the road that's underground. And so they're doing it sort of cutting in, and the modern houses are above it. They didn't dig down. So they're tracing it up underground. That's why they have to reinforce it with the
metal support system. Yes.
yeah, with the iron beams that they're putting in there. And that's why it's one of the most costly excavations, because they're literally tunneling, following the Roman road up to the Temple Mount. So it's pretty cool. And some of it's been open. I've only been into the entrance of it. I've not walked it because it hadn't been open when I was there, but soon you're going to be able to walk the entire kilometer or mile all the way up, which is really going to be neat.
Well, thank you, David, because I read the article that, well, you sent a YouTube video, and then there's also articles. So I watched the video, and you said you'd give a link for the listening audience.
Yeah.
And also the articles I read. But even at that, it does take an archaeologist such as yourself to explain exactly what's going on and put it in perspective. And you did a wonderful job today. I really appreciate it, as I'm sure our listening audience did as well. Well, David, right now our time is up, and I gotta let you go because number two, the behind the scenes, is this has to be downloaded, and then I send it off to David, and then he's going to be busy this week editing it. So just to let everybody know the behind the scenes of this. So
And be
thanks
sure
everybody
to
for
click
the
and
support.
subscribe.
Yes.
Yeah, be sure to like and subscribe. I haven't looked recently to see what our numbers are, but we continue to grow every week, and we're going to have more artifacts for you coming shortly, and we're working on some more projects, and just never know what's going to happen. But quite providential that this news about the dam broke yesterday, just as I was getting ready to finalize everything. So I was able to throw it in at the last minute. So you're getting stuff here just as recent as you can get it anywhere by watching our podcast. So stay tuned, and we'll bring you more.
Right, absolutely. Thanks everybody for your time and your support. And right now we're at like 263,000 subscribers, right? And Bible Interact is in the process of redoing their, I guess, their website and their inner working. So it's going to be easier to follow it and connect with all the different podcasts that we've been up to. So once again, thanks for your support. Thanks for tuning in. Until next week, have a good day.